What's going on, guys? In this video, we're going to be going over the winners and the losers of the 2022 NFL Draft. Now, I made this video yesterday, but it was only through 3 rounds, and I just didn't love the video a lot, and not all the information was out, aka the picks. So I'm redoing this video today, and I'm going to be picking 5 winners, and I'm going to be picking 5 losers of the draft. Now, I want to give an honorable mention right now to the New York Giants. They killed the first round. They got 2 top 5 players, in my opinion, but their rest of the draft was really shaky. Wan'Dale Robinson was probably O-drafted. Also, basically Kadarius Toney, so this means that they might move on from him. And then the rest of their drafts were a lot of overdrafts, depth pieces, when I thought that they could have gotten a lot better value. Moving on to the first team on our list is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, they did lose Tyreek Hill, which ended up being the pick for Trent McDuffie. They ended up trading up with the Patriots, and they got a lot of good guys here. Similarly to a lot of their drafts nowadays, they're doing really well in drafting and developing players. And Trent McDuffie is your Travis Ward replacement. Excellent value at 21. I thought he was a top 15 pick. George Karlaftis is at 30. He was mainly there because Jermaine Johnson was falling a lot. And I like George Karlaftis. I think he's underrated. Pretty polished edge rusher, but maybe not the best in run defense. But you got Sky Moore, kind of Tyreek Hill. Not replacement, but he does what Tyreek Hill can do. Or he can do what Tyreek Hill did. Brian Cook, I thought was a good pick at 30. And then awesome, probably my favorite pick was Leo Chanel. I thought this was a great value at the 100. I think it was 103rd pick. So also Denard Kinnard, who I was much higher on, and he fell to the 5th round. So the Chiefs got good value all around. I really liked how they approached this. They fit all their needs as well. So they definitely come out as winners, even though they did lose Tyreek Hill. My next team is going to be the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions came out of this draft with 2 really good players, that and Aiden Hutchinson, who in my opinion, should have been the number 1 overall pick, but he ended up falling to 2. And then you got Jameson Williams is coming off of an ACL injury, but he was the best college receiver, in my opinion. He also has one of the best deep threat abilities. They got Josh Pascal in the second round. I don't know exactly what pick that. I think that's 46. I think that was pick 46. Also, Kirby Joseph, I like, out of Illinois. James Mitchell, I thought was an underrated tight end out of Virginia Tech. But the big people in this were Jameson Williams and Aiden Hutchinson. Philadelphia ended up coming out of this draft as big winners. They ended up getting A.J. Brown from the Tennessee Titans, and they also moved up for Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis, even though he is a 2-down player, he was the best run defender, in my opinion, in the 2022 NFL class. And they also got Cameron Jurgens. I thought that they could have had addressed originally 1 offensive lineman with their top 3 first-round picks, but they ended up getting Cam Jurgens, who I thought was great value at in the second round. And then they go ahead and get Nakobe Dean, who in my opinion was a first-round value, but I knew he was going to slip to the second round because undersized, injury-prone, weak side linebackers typically fall. Example JOK last year. But they got him in the 3rd round, and he ended up probably being the steal of the draft, in my opinion. It seems every year that the Baltimore Ravens come out of the draft so well. I mean, even last year in 2020, they even had. So in the last 5 years, they've had spectacular draft classes, and they can also develop those players. They ended up getting Kyle Hamilton in the 1st round, even though I am lower on him, I felt like that started to crumble. His perfect resume as a safety started to fall down as we looked more into his tape, seeing that he was fit more in the box and not that great as a high safety. But he's still versatile. He has great size, and he probably goes to the best position because they already have a single high cover 3 safety, that in Marcus Williams, who they got in the offseason. He also has a great secondary group there. And then they ended up getting Tyler Linderbaum, who in my opinion is a generational center. This guy's almost a perfect center prospect. He's a little undersized, but that doesn't really matter in my opinion because he plays way above it. And then they also got David Ajabo, who I thought had a first round value pick, even though he did tear his Achilles at his pro day, which made him slip to the second round. They ended up getting Travis Jones as well, who I was extremely high on. Love this guy at a UConn. Killed the Senior Bowl. And then they got also Daniel Fa'alele, who he was in my Senior Bowl video as well. I thought he's raw. He's very raw. Technically not great, but he's also 6'8", 384. Massive tackle. And then they also got Isaiah Likely, who I thought was arguably probably top 2, top 3 tight end next to some of those great tight ends. But other than that, the only gripe I have about this is that they drafted a punter in the 4th round, and I thought that they could have moved back into the 3rd or 2nd round because they had a lot of 4th round picks. And for a team like Baltimore, who's in a win now situation, you got to try to move those picks. With my last winner of the 2022 NFL draft, it has to be the Jets. The Jets got great value for almost all of their picks, especially in the 1st and 2nd round. You got Sauce Gardner, the best cornerback in the draft. The Jets have been looking for a lockdown cornerback ever since Darrelle Revis. This guy can do man, zone. He has incredible size. He's 6'3", 190, ran a 4.41, and also the Jets face Tyreek Hill and Stephon Diggs twice a year. Moving on to Garrett Wilson, the best receiver in the draft. Likely the closest thing to Robert Woods, Odell Beckham Jr. These like 6'5", route running monsters. Probably the best route runner in the draft, technically, and he also can jump out of the gym. Like his jump ball ability is extremely underrated, and it makes him just a step above some other receivers. And then they ended up getting Jermaine Johnson, which was my second best pick of the 2022 first round of the draft. Even though this was probably the best value pick, this guy was he was a top 7, or he was my 6th pick in my big board. He was also Daniel Jeremiah's 9th on his big board. So getting him at 26, and it also fits a need, is massive value. I thought that he was in the conversation at number 10, and you get him at 26. They ended up trading up for him, leaving them without another one of their picks. Anyways, Bryce Hall at 36. This was probably the consensus best running back. He ran a 4.39. He had over 20 touchdowns in 2 years. He had over 1,700 yards in the last 2 years. And he also has great upside as a receiving back, creating a 1-2 punch with Michael Carter. And then you have Jeremy Rucker. Now, tight end wasn't a massive need, but at the same time, Jeremy Rucker grew up a Jets fan. His father is a massive Jet fan. And also, I rationalized this pick by saying, how many times have Jet tight ends gotten injured, especially over the last couple of years? I mean, Chris Herndon out for a year. Tyler Kroft out for half of the year. Ryan Griffin out for half of the year. The Jets have been lacking at the tight end position for so long. It feels so odd for us to have a lot of good and underrated tight ends. Now, if one of them gets injured, Jeremy Rucker immediately slots in at the second tight end position. He's an awesome run blocking tight end, and he fits in our system really well. Now, they got 2 other picks in Matt Mitchell and Michael Clemens. Now, I like Matt Mitchell because he's going to be the swing tackle. He meets one of that need. And then Michael Clemens, even though he does have a lot of off-the-field and injury issues, as well as being 25, he does have potential off the edge, good as a run defender as well, especially with that. Moving on to the losers of the draft, I'm going to have to start off with the New England Patriots. They overdrafted pretty badly with their first 3 picks. Cole Strange was a consensus 2nd or 3rd round pick. Even though I like Cole Strange and I thought that he was really underrated, the first round is just way too high for him. And then Tyquan Thornton was not even in my top 100, and he goes at the 2nd round pick. Now, he did have the best 40 time out of any receiver, but he lacks a lot in route running. Likely going to be probably a special teamer. And also, Marcus Jones. This is a special teamer. Marcus Jones is a full special teamer. Even though he is a really good one, he is not the best cornerback. And at the third round, you kind of want somebody other than just a pure returner. And then the other guys they got, I mean, they got Billy Zape. They didn't need a quarterback in the fourth round. That's really high for one. Another way, they didn't get great value on the picks. The next team is going to be the Vikings. Now, I don't think that they were big losers of the draft. They met a lot of their needs, but I felt their ranking, or in my opinion, was really tarnished by the Detroit pick. Now, Detroit traded up from 32 to 12, and they ended up getting Jameson Williams. Now, the Vikings did get Lewis Cine, which met a need at safety, but you basically only got a third-round pick and a second-round swap. Now, I love the Andre Booth pick, but that's kind of the only great value pick in this entire draft. I mean, Brian Asamoah was way too high for the third round. I thought that Ed Ingram was a horrible pick, and other than that, they didn't really get great value other than Andre Booth, and they traded way down for Lewis Cine when JMO was essentially picked at 12. Now, I'm really low, maybe a little bit too low on the Jaguars draft, but I had Trayvon Walker at 26 for my first round rankings, but I'm just not that high on Trayvon Walker, especially at number 1 overall. This guy is a excellent run defender, and he has freak athleticism, but as a pass rusher, he only had 8% pressure rate, which is not good, and a lot of defensive ends that have low pressure rates in college that are picked really high because they're freak athletes don't necessarily translate well. For example, Taco Charlton, and you pick him at 1 overall. And I really like the Devin Lloyd pick. I like the Devin Lloyd pick, but then they go out and get Chad Muma. So now they have 3 linebackers when they signed Foyesade Oluokun to a $15 million contract, and they basically gave away Miles Jack. So they also ignored receiver totally, because they got Zay Jones and Christian Kirk. Other than that, they have like Laviska Shenault, who was another one of the Jaguar busts, likely. I do like Luke Fortner. I think I'm a little higher on him than a lot of other people who thought this was a horrible pick, but it meets one of their offensive line needs at center. But other than that, they didn't have too many picks, and I thought that Trayvon Walker really did tarnish this class, and also they ended up drafting 2 linebackers pretty high. For the other losers of the draft, I'm having the Chicago Bears. They absolutely refused to go with receiver with their first 2 picks, and they ended up getting Venus Jones, who is a horrible route runner. Looking at his tape at Tennessee, he was not great at route running. And the rest of their picks, they had way too many low round picks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They had 8 picks in the 5th to 7th round. Just way too many picks in that range. How many of those guys are going to be impact players? And I like Kyler Gordon and I like Jahan Brisker, but other than that, this draft class was not very good. And with my last loser of the draft, I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys. Their class was very bad. Tyler Smith, overdraft at 24. Sam Williams, massive overdraft in the second round. Jalen Tolbert is probably the best pick in here. Jalen Ferguson, I was a lot lower on, even though he played well at the Senior Bowl. And then their whole draft class was a bunch of overdrafts and not great value picks. And their first and second round picks ruined this for me. So let me know your thoughts about the winners and losers of the draft. Let me know how you think your team did in the comments. I'm going to make a full, complete video going over every single team, grading every team, and giving a ranking for them from 1 to 30, and that will be tomorrow. But thank you for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.